don't even need an appointment. When it's time to hit the road, stop by Advance Auto Parts to start strong with a die-hard battery. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Imagine a coffee cup. It may seem small, but it comes from a small business, one of thousands on eBay. Powered by people, millions of people, all over the country, all working to get you exactly what you want. And that's no small thing. That's everything. Get your thing on eBay.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Minnesota Twins began workouts Wednesday with a 60-man roster for an abbreviated season. The Blue Wahoos had connections across every position. 1/3 of the Twins player pool for the 60-game season, which starts July 23rd, consists of players who wore a Blue Wahoos uniform for at least 3 games in 2019. Those 20 are led by the trifecta of first-rounders, Alex Kirilloff, Trevor Larnach, and Royce Lewis, who were together late last season. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Raymond Cottrell for the Milton Panthers. This young sophomore garnered attention from FSU and got an offer as well before he even stepped foot in the halls of Milton High School. At 6'3", 215, rightfully so, as he's collected more offers after 1 year at Milton from the likes of Jeremy Pruitt in the Tennessee Volunteers as well as Kirby Smart in the Georgia Bulldogs. Cottrell can do a little bit of everything, but is tough to gauge as he hasn't even gotten started yet. If you don't know the name, you will, because this young man is one freak athlete. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
My favorite thing about music is it's reliable. It's always there.
There's nothing to worry about when you do music. It takes my mind off of all of the worries that I have in life. You're just having fun.
When I'm playing it, I'm like, wow, this is me. I sometimes just like shock myself.
I didn't have anywhere to belong yet. If I played drums or, if I played guitar, I played bass, or I sang, I felt like all of a sudden I had a community behind me.
It's wonderful that I'm part of something that brings me great joy.
It just helps me cheer up other people.
You're kind of in communion with something that's a really subtle and beautiful thing of creativity.
And the sound just increases around you, and you just become immersed in it, you become one with it.
When you play music, you are playing life.
Whatever music means to you, just play.
Brought to you by the NAM Foundation.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh! Dilly dilly! Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Over the last few months, we've realized that those excuses of not doing yard work, you've had to pay up. No excuses to get fat eating a bunch of rancid chicken wings and 3 pitchers because it's football Sunday. Tired of trying to pronounce names overseas at 4 a.m. that we don't know in Korea in baseball. But sports is coming back, and we're optimistic to carry all the biggest games on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 each every night on ESPN Pensacola. Thank God all of this didn't happen during college football season.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Of course, washing your hands, practicing social distancing, all you know the drill by now. Look, we have a locked and loaded show ready to go for you today. Of course, before I get started here, going to have Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott on the show. Going to be great to hear from him, especially this is a coach. Remember that we're talking about taking the Bills 2 out of the 3 years he's been there to the playoffs. Of course, last year having a 10-win season. They haven't done that since 1999. So it's a team that's up and coming. And with Tom Brady out of the division, going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But listen, before we get started on this Thursday afternoon, once again, thank you for joining us. But, excuse me, we want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers this time. And we do this each and every day, and I think it's rightfully so. For what these folks mean to us in our community and all over the world. I think first responders and healthcare workers in COVID-19 right now, we know that they are highlighted, obviously, because of their work. But these folks do this every day. This is their job. They enjoy it. They love it. I have friends on both sides of the spectrum here, and they love the support they get from you, the community here in Pensacola. And proud to call Pensacola my home just to see the support that they've gotten. Now, I know cases are going up, but hearing from them, they're not panicking. They're embracing it. And saying, you know what, game on. We're going to get this done. We're going to get through this. We're going to be stronger. And, you know, we thank them so much for it, especially in a time with so much unrest in our country right now. The one thing I will say is, educate yourself and understand that don't let a couple bad apples ruin the entire bunch here. We have so many great first responders, so many great police officers, EMS workers, firefighters, all these folks, nurses to doctors. We live in a special place here in Pensacola, and I want to say that for those folks that can't necessarily speak for themselves as much. But we thank them so much, and we also thank the grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. Look what they do. We see them every day. Whether you go to get your groceries or whatever it may be, they've been there trying to stock and get everything ready. Truck drivers, the same thing. Those are the silent heroes in all this. We forget about them sometimes, but got some truck drivers who listen to the show every day, so that's awesome. Awesome to hear from them, and we want to send them a shout out. But one thing I will say, folks, and I'm not going to we don't bring politics really into this show at all, and this is not a political statement. Just with everything going on right now, throw a mask on if you're around people. It's not necessarily for you, it's for everyone. And like I said, we're going to get through this, but it's going to take everybody. We did a good job to get to the point of opening up before, and we're going to be a lot stronger from this. So, Coach, I know we have a loaded show today with some special guests, but how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, and as always, I really appreciate you with that statement before each show there, giving thanks to those people that we should acknowledge and appreciate each and every day. It's just there's not enough time to appropriately tell them what we really think, and we're all very grateful for what they've done. So I second your little acknowledgement there, and certainly hope that it hits home with some people.
Absolutely. And Coach, you know that, I mean, you've talked off air about this. We could talk about those folks for days upon days. I mean, it just goes without saying what they do, and we are so grateful for them because it gives us the opportunity to do what we're doing now. And Coach, I'm going to jump right into this. You know what? We have a ton to get to. Of course, Sean McDermott coming on at 12:15, so a few minutes before here. Look, want to talk about this. Now, Tom Pelissero, who I will remind people, coming on next Thursday, I believe, will join us, an NFL.com reporter, covers the NFL, has had stints with the Vikings and I believe the Packers, other teams as well. Just a very trusted source when you talk about covering. You can't trust everybody, but Tom Pelissero is pretty good about the Dak Prescott situation because, Coach, I know we talked about it yesterday. Less than a week now until Dak Prescott, the chance for the Cowboys to work out a long-term deal. Apparently the Cowboys offered him one more time. Now, we'll see what happens with this. But what we are hearing from Tom Pelissero, they offered him one more deal that was actually a little bit longer than the 5-year deal than he was offered before. Now, remember, Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year extension there. So the Cowboys offered it. Dak Prescott didn't bite. He still wants a 4-year deal. So all these people now that are coming out today that were saying that the deal was going to get done with the Dallas Cowboys have now said it is almost just not going to happen. And, Coach, once again, I say this because this is something you've said from the beginning, that there seems to be more than meets the eye in this, and it just doesn't look like the deal is going to get done. And that might be the last straw there, as the Cowboys offered him that final deal, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I think they have to do that for appearance sake. But if you notice, I think they did add additional time onto it, which was an absolute no-go. This is where they want him. I truly believe this is where they want him on a 1-year type arrangement, which you have with that tag, franchise tag. If he makes things happen with the talent they've assembled there, and they have assembled quite a football team. They've got an awful lot of talent on that team and helped themselves even more during the draft. But if he has the year that they would hope a quarterback would have, given what they've surrounded him with, then there will be, I'm sure they will extend a contract and they'll get something worked out. But in the meantime, they don't have to guarantee millions of dollars over numbers of years when they've got a 1-year obligation right now. And if things don't work out or they get a chance to make a change to someone that they feel will do a better job for them, then they've only got this 1 year and they're out of it. So I really feel like this is something that they feel is best for their organization, and I really can't blame them. And I'm going to tell you, I have said this before. I think they made a heck of a good deal bringing in the quarterback that they did to back up that situation and maybe even end up playing there. Dak Prescott may not be the starter at the end of the year or from mid-season or so on. That could happen. Look for it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And look, Dallas is locked and loaded on offense. We saw they had a terrific offseason, bringing in more talent once again to a team. And remember, as a great offensive line, a good running back there, great wide receiving core, shoring up, of course, Amari Cooper, bringing in CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. You have so many guys. Tony Pollard is a backup running back, by the way, which that's a name I believe you're going to hear as we go along here, regardless of what happens with Ezekiel Elliott. The question is the defense, how's it going to look? Well, I think they're going to be good. We'll see how good they are, though. But, Coach, you're right. Look, bring in Andy Dalton. That was their ace in the hole. And, that's something we'll see what happens with the whole ordeal with Dak Prescott and everything. But, nonetheless, the Cowboys, for people to say that Dak has all the leverage, well, we'll see who has the true leverage when it's all said and done. But, Coach, one more thing here before we go to break. I know we got a few minutes, but Stanford, of course, cutting 11 of its varsity programs at the conclusion of the 2020-2021 academic year. They say as it deals with its ongoing financial ramifications of the coronavirus. Of course, I want to let people know the 11 sports that will be discontinued. I won't read all of them, but to give you an idea, men's and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's volleyball, and wrestling, or to name a few. Squash is another one, things like that. Not big-name sports, but, Coach, it's interesting because, me and you talked about this before the show. They have one of the biggest endowment funds. Now, when you talk about the endowment funds, they're actually behind Harvard, Yale, Texas. So they have the fourth highest one with $22 billion. So, Coach, I mean, is there more to this than what we're seeing on paper? I mean, what do you make of this whole Stanford cutting 11 programs?
Well, you'd almost have to be on the inside. I think just from a casual observation there are going to be other schools that cut these fringe programs. They can certainly afford to keep them with the endowment that they had. My goodness, but with the lack of athletic funds, I'm sure it's tied to that, JP. And keep in mind now, all schools missed out on the March Madness, the basketball tournament, which is the only thing other than football that brings in money. There are only two things that bring in money at a university, and that's March Madness, and that depends on who you are and what bracket and so on. But March Madness and certainly football. And then with the prospects, certainly in California, of maybe having football season curtailed or limited, possibility of no season, I guess, they could look at. I think they just said, heck, well, this is going to be our athletic budget for the next 2 to 3 years. It's not going to be 1 year. This is going to affect for 2 to 3 to 5 years maybe. They went ahead and cut these programs, and no reason to beat around the bush, I guess, is the way they look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the very least. Now, these aren't, of course, big name programs or big name, sports here for a lot of people, but they are sports, and it's interesting to see Stanford. But one thing that we will say, if Stanford's going to be okay, this is not like a desperation situation, and we've seen teams like this or schools bring back these sports after a couple years as well. So, like you said, this is not going to be just a 1-year thing. This is going to affect things from here on out for a while to be able to recover. For some schools, it's going to be a lot harder than others, but nonetheless, Stanford cutting 11 of their 36 varsity programs. So football has not been cut. Baseball, basketball, all the big-name sports are still there. But if you're a fan of, wrestling or lightweight rowing, whatever it may be, after this year, they will be cut. But, Coach, we got to go to a quick break here. When we come back, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, will join us on the show. We had Andy Reid, of course, of the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday joining us. Going to be really interesting to talk to Coach McDermott now that it's interesting enough that Brady is gone with the Patriots there, so that turns that division upside down, or will it? Well, we're going to talk to Coach McDermott when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in?
Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Beautiful day outside. And we have a special guest joining us on the show today. So grateful for him to join us here. Head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott. Now, of course, if you don't know his background, well, he's a former player for William & Mary, where I want to mention he was an all-conference safety. He may not want me to say that, but I'm going to throw that out there for him. Of course, defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles as well as the Carolina Panthers, and now been with the Buffalo Bills where he's taken them to the playoffs 2 of the past 3 years here. And I do want to mention that getting the Bills to 10 wins last season for the first time since 1999. And we know he has a pretty good team coming back this year. The division, well, this is their chance to take it, and we think that they've got a pretty good shot. But, Coach, I know that we got a lot to get to, so I'll send it over to you.
All right, JP, thank you. And, Coach, appreciate it. I know you're probably trying to get in a little relaxation here before the marathon starts, but I appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Well, it's an honor to be with you guys, and I just pray and hope everyone out there is trying to stay as safe and as healthy as possible.
You bet, you bet. Well, I'm going to start you with the same, we had Andy Reid on yesterday, and start you with the same question. What does it look like? I'm talking about the big picture here now. For what are you hearing and what are your plans right now for the Buffalo Bills as far as camp plans, startups, the types of things that you're going to be able to do when you start camp? I understand that there's quite a bit of discussion there. And if they're even going to have any preseason games, my guess is you'll end up with no preseason games and just get ready to play and get to those first games, regular season games.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, there's a lot up in the air, it sounds like right now. Having said that, as coaches, we're planners inherently, and we're going ahead with our plan to start on time. And certainly put the health and safety of our players and our staff first and foremost, and at the same time, work to achieve the goal of winning games and having a good season, good successful season. So, and I imagine, listen, we're all professionals in this business, and I imagine the other 31 teams are doing the same.
Well, yeah, and in talking with a number of people, Bill Polian in particular, I think the NFL obviously has done an outstanding job of looking ahead and planning ahead. There's certain options that are going to be available to them, and I think they've played through that. And as always, the logistics are usually the hardest things you have to deal with on any change of plans. But it looks like they've, what I hear, they have planned for the opening, what they want to do at the time that is, hopefully they're going to be able to start at a regular time the way they normally start. But if not, going back 2 weeks into October, mid-October and even to a start up 1st of November. So if that becomes necessary, I don't think that is going to be the case. I really think you guys are going to be able to get started. No preseason games, but get started at your normal early September dates.
Yeah, we'll see. I think, Coach, a lot remains to be seen. As I mentioned, we are planners, as I mentioned, and I feel like at least at Buffalo that we have been hard at work at this, and our staff has done a phenomenal job of taking the protocols when we got some of the protocols a month or two ago, and tried to do the best we could to start to evolve and adapt and adjust to what we need to do to have a safe and successful season. And again, I imagine all the teams are doing somewhat the same. And so really we're trying to get ourselves ready to go. It's different and unique, no doubt about it, but that's the new normal, at least for the time being. And that's what's going on in our world. And so, we're just trying to get ourselves ready to go. The end of vacation, so to speak, is usually somewhat quiet this year. This year a little bit different. This year there's been more conversations, more communication with people at the league office, and then certainly amongst our staff and our ownership to make sure that we are, again, putting our players' safety and health first, and the same with our staff, and then taking the appropriate steps to make the adjustments that are necessary.
Just a quick question, I guess more out of curiosity on my part. We used to have scrimmages with Cleveland. Cleveland's not far away. We'd meet halfway between Buffalo and Cleveland there. Usually, I forget the name of the small college there, Edinboro State, and have scrimmage. That might be, since you don't have any preseason games, maybe they will allow something like that where you just bus and only takes an hour to get there.
Yeah, we had plans. We had plans, Coach, to have joint practices with Atlanta and then play them in the second preseason game. The NFL has addressed us and the league and has said that they don't want to do that. It's not, we want to stay away from doing that this preseason. So, we'll just see. I mean, I imagine we'll continue to get information over the next couple of days and week, and then we'll continue to make adjustments. And as far as the preseason games, I'm sure the union and the league will hash that out as to what they feel like is the best for the league and the players, and then we'll, again, as coaches, we're known to adjust. So that's what we have to do. So that's, I think, part of being a good coach is being able to adjust, whether it's in game or in this case, adjusting to the preseason and whether you have games or not, or how many games we'll have. So we'll just take it one step at a time right now.
Yeah, you bet. And you're right. Coaches have to adjust to many things during the season. We could take the whole hour just talking about what is necessary there, what's normal procedure, but we won't do that. In fact, I told a couple of the NFL coaches that I was talking with. In fact, they were at my house, and I said, you may be called on. They may give you a week or 2 weeks to get ready and go play the season the way things are going. And, of course, nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants preseason games, but it just might not happen. Listen, I want to get to. By the way, I know you've probably been over to Elio DiPaolo's there, the Italian restaurant in Blaisdell.
Yeah, I have. You're naming some oldies but goodies. Yeah, there's some good spots up here in Buffalo that I'm sure you remember and have fond memories of. And it's been great to be here. I'll tell you, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. Hard-working town, as you know, Coach, and blue-collar town, and we really appreciate that. Again, raising kids here in this town, and the people have just been phenomenal. And Ilya DiPaolo in particular has been just a great friend of the Bills for many years, as you know.
Yeah. Well, you're right about the people up there. Some of the friendliest people in the world live right in that area. And, my gosh, they're hardworking, great people, as you said. Listen, I want to get a little more detail, if you don't mind, about your football team now. You're coming off a 10-win season. An awful lot is expected, and everybody recognizes the defensive production that you got last year and look forward to. How do you? I guess my biggest question would be, Allen is. I look at him. I see a young man with great physical skills, strong arm. Maybe lacks some accuracy that some other people have, and obviously with experience, there'll be more in the way of pre-snap and immediate post-snap adjustments to the game. But how do you see his development? I think that's the key, one of the real keys to your football team.
Right. We're very confident in Josh Allen and Josh's abilities, Coach. We saw development from year 1 to year 2, and now going into year 3, the controllables and the knowns are that Josh Allen's a hard worker and he'll come back ready to go, and I'm sure we'll have continued to develop, and that's what I'm anxious to see. That's what I'm excited to see, not just from Josh, but our entire football team and how they've grown over this off season, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and so. We've got a great group of guys, and Josh is a great teammate. The players love being around him. They love playing alongside of him, and he's very coachable. So that's a great foundation from which to build from, and I'm confident that each and every year he'll continue to grow and get better. And he does have unique abilities, as you mentioned, and so that's what makes it exciting for the future for the Buffalo Bills. That's one of the many things that makes it an exciting time to be a Buffalo Bill.
Well, certainly, and you've done an outstanding job. It should have prefaced everything by saying congratulations on the job that you've done out there. Outstanding. Now, you've looked. I'm sure you had a good close look at your division in particular. I really think there's some teams in the NFL, maybe as much as any, I've seen in the off-season improvement. There are a number of teams that have really improved from a personnel standpoint, improved their football team drastically. For example, not in your division, but I really think Indianapolis Colts have certainly helped themselves tremendously. How do you feel that you have done in the way of improving the talent level and depth on your football team over the off season, both with free agency and the draft?
Well, I think you're right. I think there's certainly, a lot of teams that have improved in the NFL, and that's what makes our league so great. The parity in the way things work in our league creates and promotes parity in the league, and so teams that are down one year have a chance to be at the top the next year, and vice versa, unfortunately. So one of the hardest things to accomplish is, and I think in life and sports, is consistency and sustain, in this case, sustain success. We've taken a team that's gone from having not, sniffed the playoffs in the number of years to in 2 out of our first 3 years making the playoffs. So very fortunate. And it really comes back to our people. It comes back to our players, our staff. It comes back to our fans, what a passionate fan base we have, and that's what makes playing in Buffalo so special. That said, we do have a lot of respect for the other teams out there and what they've done as well to improve their teams. I think we've done a good job as well. I think Brandon Beane, our general manager, and his staff have done a good job of adding to our roster as well. And And so now it's going to be, are we able to, stay healthy and stay available and come together as a team during the upcoming weeks, hopefully in training camp, and build that all-important chemistry. And so, we've got a long runway in front of us with a lot of hard work in front of us. The challenge, as you mentioned, Coach, is going to be we've got a short run up to the season, much shorter than we anticipated. But at this point, it's what it is. So we've got to have a good plan and be ready to execute that plan as we get together here in the coming weeks.
Well, I know you will, and you certainly got another plow to pull, if you will, with the expectation. I think almost universal now that Buffalo is picked to win that division, and it's still anytime you've got Belichick and the way they play, the continuity and the momentum. Winning breeds winning, so there's a lot there that has to be overcome. I know you're capable of doing it, but that's going to be a tough division that you're in, and we wish you the very, very best of luck. How do you guys feel about the league in particular, the AFC, with how you stack up? I know you looked at, you have a general idea. You don't want to say too much about it, but I know you have a general idea of where Kansas City is, where Baltimore is. I think a lot of people are going to catch up with Baltimore and limit what they do. But how do you see the league overall, AFC?
Yeah, that's a great question, Coach. I think to your point that a lot of these teams have improved. I mean, just starting with our division, you look at what, starting with the defending champs, what New England's been able to do, most recently included in signing Cam Newton. You're talking about a league MVP, and so that'll be a challenge. I think they, until someone is able to show otherwise, they remain, to me, the favorite of the AFC East, and so. Just staying within our division, I think Miami and Coach Flores has done a good job down there and getting it the way he wants it to be. And the same with the Jets, the talent that they continue to bring in under Joe Douglas and as a general manager there. And then you get outside of our division and you get just looking at the AFC East. You mentioned two great organizations, great coaches, and Andy Reid in Kansas City and John Harbaugh in Baltimore. Both had tremendous years last season, obviously, and I think they're veteran teams that'll continue to have success. And so it'll be, we have our work cut out for us. And as you know, no games are won on paper and this time of year or in the off season. And the work really begins in the next couple of weeks here. So we've got our work cut out for us and we've got to earn everything.
Well, I know you have, and I know you'll get the job done. And also, I think you have another advantage of that you certainly have quite a bit of knowledge of Cam Newton's abilities and how he plays the game. So that's kind of interesting as well. I think that plays into your favor. But anyway, listen, I told you I wouldn't keep you more than about 15 minutes. We've done that, gone a little over. I apologize for that. But I do appreciate you coming on, and we wish you the best.
That's quite all right, Coach. I appreciate the time, and again, just praying and hoping for everyone's health and safety out there. God bless everyone.
Thank you.
And that's head coach of the Buffalo Bills right there, Sean McDermott. Awesome to hear from him as well. And you know what? He reiterated that. The very first question when I got him on the phone before I brought him on the show was, hey, how's everybody doing? Everybody safe? Everybody, and that shows you the type of person he is. And Coach, when you look at the Buffalo Bills, they've went through some rough times in the past, and we know that, but I think they've got the right guy for the job nonetheless. But listen, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the ACC making the announcement they're going to delay the fall sports until, September 1st. We'll get Greg Sankey's reaction there to, of course, the Ivy League's decision on, moving to the spring, which everybody just pump the brakes a little bit. And we'll talk about NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. The odds have come out now, and the name at the top may not surprise you, or maybe it will. But we'll get into all that when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
What if people had a battery level icon? Like on your phone? You'd see a lot of us in need of a recharge. Thank goodness there's 5-Hour Energy. Because just one sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-Hour Energy shot can get you all the way back to 100% fast. And isn't life better at 100%? 5-Hour Energy. Get back to 100%. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hurricane season is upon us, and although we aim to bring you the latest news in sports, we're committed to bringing the Pensacola community the latest updates and information during the 2020 hurricane season. In collaboration with our sister stations, News Radio 92.3 AM 1620 and Cat Country 98.7, stay up to date with breaking weather news and updates on the biggest storms impacting Northwest Florida by checking our Facebook pages at Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 92.3, and ESPN Pensacola.
Hey, this is Chad Brillante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. And Coach, before I get into it here, talking about, it was a pleasure having Coach Sean McDermott on, and it's great to hear these NFL coaches and the positivity they bring. And listen, it's a lot like what you talked about, because you've been there, Coach, you've played, and you've coached the highest level in the NFL there. It's all about planning. They're planners. They said, look, we're taking this day by day, and whatever it throws at us, we're just going to roll with it. And I think that's important. A lot of people don't like that because they want an answer now of what's going on, but you're not going to get that. But, Coach, I mentioned it before we went to the break. With Buffalo and the hard times they've been on, like we said, the first 10-win season since 1999 there, I think Sean McDermott is the guy for the job. He is a well-seasoned veteran when you talk about it. The players love him. You talked about the city of Buffalo. It seems that they have rallied around him as well. And, Coach, you coach there in Buffalo. You understand how special a place it is. But I really think that Sean McDermott is a great coach, and he is going to get the job done.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it, JP. In fact, he's done an outstanding job up there already. He's still a young man, and has really, when you stop and think about it, he's got quite a bit of great experience. You know, when you're defensive coordinator with the Eagles and achieve what they did defensively and as a football team, and at Carolina, and he did a great job there. So I think he was ready for a head job, and he got it. And he's type man that keeps his feet on the ground. He's not hyping himself or other people all the time. He's really kind of a down to earth, the way I really appreciate coaches being. So he's done a good job, and I think he'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I think, well, you know what? He is absolutely that, exactly what you said, Coach. And, you know, we talked to Andy Reid yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the same style guy when you look at it of just, let's get to work. That's what we're here to do, is get to work. And you see the success those guys have, and it's really refreshing. And the one thing I will mention, Coach, that you brought up, I don't even know why I didn't put two and two together. Being there in Carolina with Cam Newton, you're right. I didn't even think about that, and that's that could be to his advantage. I know it's different when you're talking about the Patriots, but you do understand tendencies that players have. So you know what? That's kind of not necessarily to say it works out in his favor, but it definitely helps for sure, to say the very least. But Coach, I do want to jump into this with some college football news. Of course, the ACC said they will delay their start of competition for all fall sports until at least September 1st right now. Of course, they announced that this morning. The Patriot League, which, you know, is obviously a smaller league here, said that they'll do it September 4th. But, Coach, when you look at this, I don't want people to panic because September 1st, first off, it doesn't affect football. If anything, right now, I think it's a great move because people are trying to get to that point where they can play. And so it's talking about you talked about NFL not playing preseason, and it helps you get to the regular season, which is obviously the most important thing here. Now, this doesn't say that teams won't be able to practice or anything like that. This is just saying games won't be played until September 1st. And if they need to move it back, they will. So I want to make that very clear as I move into the next thing here. We all know, Coach, the Ivy League finally came out and officially made their decision, although we got the writing on the wall beforehand, that they were going to cancel their athletics until the spring. They said January 1st they'll come back and reconvene if they want to do it or not. Now, people need to understand a lot of things about the Ivy League. We had Brent Baird of Lindy Sports and with Jacksonville right there, their sports network as well, come on the Sports Drive, Coach, and say, listen, the Ivy League's decision has zero to do with the Power Five. Now, we need to understand that with the Ivy League, they don't give scholarships to players. Things are a lot different there. You're talking about, endowment funds, whatever it may be. They make their money. They actually lose money on athletics. They make their money, obviously, on grants and things like that. So it's a little bit different, obviously, a night and day difference when you're talking about moving them to the spring. But SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, basically with the Ivy League's decision, is that going to create a domino effect for other conferences? He pushed back on that narrative, basically going on Get Up and saying, look, I don't think the announcement today is any inflection point for decision-making. Now, when you look at what's happening with the coronavirus, those are real inflection points for us. He says, I want to be optimistic, but the reality is publicly we have to discipline ourselves to remain healthy as a culture. And that relates to some of the behaviors we have seen that have caused the spread to accelerate. And I've been optimistic, but I am also prepared that optimism may not be reality. He goes on, Coach, and talking about the Ivy League's decision has no effect on what they're going to do with the SEC and the other Power 5 conferences. And, Coach, when you hear that, any surprise by those comments, or that's exactly what we thought he was going to say?
No, that sounds exactly like I would expect you to say, and I agree. I don't think the Ivy League has any indicator as to what the Power Five might do. But the thing that we've got to be aware of is that these kids are probably, I say, and in fact, very probably better off on campus with their football staff directing their activities and checking on them and testing them for the virus and so on, they're probably much better off than they would be elsewhere at their home or wherever they might be, other than at school. So you have to. People need to really factor that in when they say, first we got to make sure we're safe, and everybody. Yes, that sounds good, and that's what everybody's got to say. But you got to realize the safest. Where's the safest place these kids could be?
Yeah, that's we've had coaches coaching even, and I know people say, yeah, of course coaches will say this, but medical experts have come out and said, listen, when you bring guys in and put them in a so-called bubble situation, not necessarily locking them away from everything, but keeping them around each other, things like that. Of course, sanitizing. He goes, it's a lot safer than where they're going to be out on their own, because we all know, once again, these are kids that are from 18 to 22, 23 years old. We saw at LSU that 30 of them tested positive at basically one time, and it linked it back to a bar right off campus. So these kids, it's going to be tough to keep them wrangled in. We understand that. But they're not going to be wrangled in regardless, and to make that very clear. And, Coach, I know North Carolina and Ohio State, of course, put a pause right now in their workouts as they had a surge in tests. I think North Carolina had 37 tests positive. We've seen that for a lot of guys, and I want to make this clear. I'm not saying it's great that they got the coronavirus, but at the same time, you got to take positives out of everything. And for them, look, the kids, of course, the majority of them were asymptomatic, which is great. But being able to do pausing is not the end of the world. Right now, pausing is actually somewhat of a positive a little bit, because you've got these kids that have it, and right now we're not sure what can happen with the virus. We're still learning about it, but everybody's saying you can't get it necessarily again. Now that's not 100% fact, but that's what they're thinking right now. So make that very clear. And then for people to say, look, college football is a disaster, I just found this, of course, coming out, and it's funny because you have to truly search for these stats, Coach. Now, the majority of teams actually have 0 positive tests when they've come back. Now, in media, they're going to report the teams that do have positive tests because, people want to be miserable. They want you to panic and things like that. But Wisconsin, a Big Ten school, right there up with Ohio State, who just paused their workouts because of surge of tests and all these, in those areas and everything, out of 450 tests this past month, they had 7 tests positive, and that was actually toward the beginning of the month. And so they came out and said, we just want to let people know that's what we got going on right now. And they actually had to put that out there themselves. Nobody came to them, obviously, because it's not a super high number. But 7 out of 450 tested positive in a month. Coach, it just goes to show you that this can happen. Like, we can do this. There's ways to go around it. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time. But nonetheless, it is possible, because the majority, I want to make this very clear, the majority of schools have had 0 positive tests or less than 5 positive tests. But once again, you're not seeing that in the news. So I just want to make that clear, because we're reporting all the positives. I do want to report the other good news as well. So just throwing that out there, Coach, that it's just proven that, this is something that don't fall to the misery of everything that you're seeing in the media. Do a little homework, and you'll find out that, what? Maybe football season is a reality, and maybe it can happen. It's going to be tough, but there is a possibility of it, Coach.
Oh, there's a distinct possibility. In fact, I still think, I think the chances of them taking the NFL season down are minuscule. I think the NFL is going to play. Now, I will say again, it's much easier for the NFL than it is college.
Correct.
And for some of the reasons you just talked about. But these kids now, listen, at that age, they're going to get out and get around their peers and have their sessions and all that. So it's almost going to happen, unless they have to understand that if you test positive, you're going into isolation and you're not playing, and that is a big penalty for them. So maybe that'll, for the most part, for most of them, it'll keep them on the straight and narrow, at least when they know they can't play. But I think the NFL is going to play it. I still think the Power 5 will find some way to play, even if they have to shorten the season and maybe give up some of their games against smaller schools. So some way, somehow, they'll get it worked out.
Yeah, I agree, and that you could take whatever you want out of this, and we do understand the reality. We've talked about it on this show, Coach, that look, when you're out and about, just throw a mask on. When you're around people, it's not necessarily just about you. It's about all of us, and it's going to take all of us to be able to squash this virus. And you know what? This virus is going to be with us for quite some time. So, of course, the health of everybody is very important. But we make that very clear when we talk about this as well. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with college football and everything. But once again, with me saying that with the masks, you can take what you want out of media. You can find all the good news you want. You can find all the negatives. But understand right now within the media, there is so much negative out there. Don't fall victim to it. There is a lot of truth out there, but there's also a lot of false statements that are going on, and people that want to sway you to believe one way or the other. You make the decision yourself. Educate yourself. That's the one thing my father always taught me from the beginning. Is he goes, just because somebody else says it doesn't mean it's true. Go out there and do your own homework and basically blaze your own trail. And that's one thing. It's easy to sit there and just read an article or read a headline, and that's where you get your news. But it means a lot more when you go and actually put in the time. But, Coach, we're going to go to a quick break here. I want to come back and talk about, odds to win the NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. A name at the top of the list may not surprise you, but it's the other names that are actually trailing pretty close behind that make this quite interesting. And Bomani Jones, we didn't get to it yesterday. We want to talk about it real quick about his comments about Matt Ryan not being a Hall of Famer. Well, that's all I'm going to say on that. Coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
And yet another major brand just announced it's halting all social media advertising.
The two most overused and abused words in advertising are truth and trust. They are the two most precious commodities for all brands, big and small. As an advertiser, you have to trust your partners to protect your brand's truth. Radio advertising, trusted to deliver your brand's truth since 1920.
Hi, it's Chad Berliante. You can trust locally owned ESPN Pensacola to deliver your business's message.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show. Beautiful day outside. Look, we're talking some football. Coach, of course, having Sean McDermott on was awesome to talk to him. The head coach of the Buffalo Bills had Andy Reid on yesterday. Want to make mention that Rashaan Evans, of course, linebacker for the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans. It's great to talk about them. But the former first-round pick for the Tennessee Titans and former Alabama Crimson Tide linebacker right there as well will join us tomorrow at 12:15. Going to be awesome to have him on. And, of course, next Thursday, I believe, Tom Pelissero for NFL.com and NFL Reporter will join us as well. You know what? It's going to be an exciting couple weeks here, Coach. It's been an exciting week already, but I want to jump right into this. Coach, look, the NFL Rookie of the Year, the odds have come out now with Caesar's Palace, of course, and we don't typically talk about betting a whole lot, but it's interesting just to talk about this because of the rookies that we just had in the draft. And now this is Offensive Rookie of the Year. The name at the top of the list may not surprise you. Joe Burrow right now is the guy headlining, with, of course, being drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is following him in a close second, along with Tua Tagovailoa, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, and then Jerry Jeudy rounded out right there, and CeeDee Lamb bringing up the rear. But, Coach, when you look at this, when you look at Offensive Rookie of the Year, I know a lot of things have to happen, but this is an interesting thing here. I think, look, Joe Burrow with Cincinnati has a lot of weapons over there, and they're starting to turn that team around. It's going to take some time, and they're in a really tough division. But is Joe Burrow right now, in your mind, a no-brainer to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Do you think he's going to have that type of season?
Well, I don't know if I'd use the term no-brainer, but I think he certainly would be my choice. I would agree that he would be the favorite right now to win it. I think this kid, I'll say it again, I think he is the most NFL ready of any quarterback that I can remember. And, coached against Peyton Manning when he was at Tennessee, and looked at him quite a bit, and a number of other quarterbacks that we drafted, Jim Kelly's and all the others. I've not seen anybody any more ready than Burrow. So I think he's got a good chance. The problem is going to be defensively getting the other football team off the field so that he can have a chance to be on the field more with their offense, and then obviously getting good field position, which is something you would hope that they'd be able to provide. I don't know that he's going to get much help from the defense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Coach, when you look at it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we talked to Andy Reid yesterday about him bringing him on as well, and that's going to be an interesting guy because with LSU bursting on the scene there and just the versatility that he has, boy, it's going to make that offense even more scary, just in general. And look, Tua Tagovailoa, we'll see what happens with him, but also with the injuries and things, how's he going to recover? What's he going to look like? How they implement him in there. I just think that between Joe Burrow and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow, Coach, you're right. Look, he's so much fun to watch. When you were compared to Tom Brady, and not just being compared because of your stats, but being compared because of your mechanics and everything you do, that's a special player. And having the greatest, I still think, I don't know if it'll ever be beat, but having the greatest season in college football history. I mean, what they were able to do last year, and looking at how, going from one year to the next, how special that truly was. But it's going to be really interesting, to say the least, of what's going to happen this NFL season. But, Coach, I know we got a minute or two here left. Bomani Jones, a guy that, has no shortage of spewing off sometimes, regardless of whatever it means, came out and said, Falcons fans are swearing to me that Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer. Basically, get off that narcotic. You've watched so much mediocrity that pretty good looks great to you. And goes on to even say that he wasn't even the best quarterback in his division ever, and puts Cam Newton ahead of him. And it says that Cam Newton won't even make the Hall of Fame. I have no idea with that. But, Coach, when you look at this, looking at his numbers, comparing his numbers here to a guy like Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan actually has more passing yards, is a little bit behind in touchdowns, has 40 less interceptions. A guy that when you look at Matt Ryan, it's unfortunate what happened against New England. But, Coach, when you look at Matt Ryan, I'm not going to get into Bomani statements. It is what it is. But is he a Hall of Famer? If he stopped right now, is he considered a Hall of Famer in your eyes?
Yes. He's gonna have stats that will be staggering when he gets through. Listen, he's a heck of a good quarterback. It's a shame what happened in the Super Bowl to him, but and he gets a lot of the blame. But let me tell you, he is a good quarterback, and there's no comparison between he and Cam Newton. Cam Newton doesn't even factor in the quarterback position. As an athlete, yes, Cam Newton is special, but in the quarterback position, Cam Newton doesn't hold a candle to Ryan. Ryan will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, too, Matt Ryan has went through so much with that Falcons team. Everybody's always talked about how great the offense is. It's the defenses that have let them down. And you talk about the Super Bowl, it's unfortunate what happened to him, but nonetheless, a fantastic quarterback. But, Coach, that sounds means it's time for us to go as usual. We have so much we didn't get to today, but you know what? Great to talk to Coach Sean McDermott. Going to have Rashawn Evans tomorrow. So, Coach, we're going to get locked and ready for tomorrow's show, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
You bet. Look forward to it, JT.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Coach. Appreciate all the listeners out there. We'll be back same time tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. There's no effect on football yet, but the ACC will delay all fall sports until September 1st. ESPN's Heather Dinich says there will be more changes to come.
We're going to see more sports cut throughout the country. We're also seeing athletic departments at the highest level take pay cuts.
Heather Dinich on Golick and Wingo. Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick tells Heather it's less likely the college football season will start on time. Nashville SC is out of the MLS is Back tournament after several players tested positive for COVID-19. Dallas FC is also out of the tournament, leaving 24 teams in the bubble in Orlando. A spokesman for the Tokyo Olympics expects the rescheduled summer games will go on next year. Today, the city of Tokyo is reporting a new single-day city record of 224 COVID-19 infections.
It ain't game day, but you can still feast like it is. Meet Church's new $5 Campfire Smokehouse Chicken, our fan favorite with a new campfire flavor, plus mashed potatoes and a biscuit. Church's, bringing that down-home flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
Controversy continues to swirl around the Washington football team's name, their mascot, and their gear specifically. There's all this conversation about a name change. We mentioned it last week when Nike took the Washington football team off of their website of any of the merchandise for sale. It was a staggering moment. Well, what do you do when Amazon has now joined and done the same? First, take your take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN News. You can also ask your smart speakers to play ESPN Radio. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. You guys can get with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I know a lot of you guys want to react to this, so 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. It's that simple, 888-729-3776. That's how we'll make sure that you get your take in on the show. In the meantime, Amazon has pulled all of the Washington football team gear off of their website. So this leads to another question. Now that we know that money's at risk, this is no longer just a conversation about what you want. It's a conversation about what keeps the bank accounts full. We got to get to the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. And that comes from Max and Stephen A., who reacted to Amazon's decision to pull the gear off of their website and what it means for a name change.
Great. Of course they should change the name. They should have been changed the name. Should have never been the name in the first place. I remember, as I said, Stephen A. is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because when we were kids, and Stephen A. was about 5 or 6 years older than me, 6 or 7 years older than me, so you remember the Steel Curtain better than I do. But if your local team stunk, you were either a Cowboys fan or a Steelers fan. I was a Steelers fan because I like Mean Joe Green. He was on the Great Space Coasters, right? Morning show for kids. So,